If you listen to the gospel, it seems very, very unfair. Why would somebody that go out and, bears the day's labor all day in the heat and the sun and, doing all the work, why would they be paid the same amount as somebody who just showed up last minute and, just kind of did a little bit of work? They get paid the same. So our sensibilities looks at this and goes, that's just not right. That's very unfair to the people that showed up and worked all day. I mean, you think about that. We all work with people like that. You show up, a lot of us do, you show up, you do your jobs, you put in an honest days, you work hard all day, and then you got somebody that shows up and everybody else is carrying the weight. And you look at that and go, well, why? It's not fair to me because I'm showing up and working hard and they show up whenever they want to and just kind of just ease by. And that kind of, at first glance, that's what we get here. And it's something we all kind of struggle with. Doesn't seem fair. I'm going to steal a line from our Vicar General, Monsignor Bill Skonecki, who famously says this. I hear it all the time. The gospel is not about fairness. Fairness is not a theological virtue. Faithfulness is a virtue in Christianity, not fairness. So if you look at this and just kind of look at the first reading as well, God says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways. God is closer to us than we could possibly imagine. He knows us better than we know ourselves. So he is intimately close to us. Thomas Aquinas really points this out. He's close to us. He walks with us. He knows us. He knows our very longing, our very being. But at the same time, he's infinitely above us. So if you look at like gradation of being, as Thomas Aquinas said, God is not just another thing in the world where something is good, something is better, and something is best, and God being the best thing in the world. No, as far as the creation goes, God is so ultimately close to us, but at the same time, so far above and infinitely above everything of creation. And that is so true if you look at the gospel. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways your ways. And the one example I can think of, maybe to help us to kind of understand this, was in 2002, many of you know my father is a retired firefighter. In 2002, he was active. He was an officer in the Prattville Fire Department. And in 2002, one of Prattville's oldest factories caught fire. The reason Prattville is there to begin with was because Daniel Pratt built a cotton gin factory in the early 19th century because of the water source there. And it had been abandoned for years. Of course, they don't do that anymore. And this old factory that stands in the heart of downtown Prattville was still there. And it was very, very old, and nobody had been in that thing for years. Well, some kids were playing around, and got in there and lit like a broom on fire, goofing around. And of course, before you know it, this entire factory made out of wood and old stuff had gone up in flames. And it was the biggest fire the city had ever seen. You could see it. You could see the glow from the fire no matter where you were. The smoke. It was huge. And my dad was a firefighter. His station happened to be right around the corner, so he was the first in. His crew was the first in, and they got there, and the commanders got there, and they looked at it, and they go, there's no way we're going to be able to put this out. We have to protect the other structures in town. Anything close by, let's not get anybody hurt, let's just try to control it. But they looked at it and goes, it's going to need more than 5 people. So the commander started calling every station in town, the other 2 stations. Hey, bring your guys. We need every fire truck and every man on board. All hands on deck. They all got there. Got there a little later. And they realized this isn't enough. Call every fireman that's in the area who's off duty. Get them down here. So a few of them started showing up a couple hours later. And they realized, hey, we need more trucks. We need more men to control this thing. So the call went out to Wetumpka and Montgomery. Hey, do you have any spare trucks and people that you can send over here? This thing is way out of hand. And they kind of showed up at the end. And I can remember just the call going out over the radio, all hands on deck. And this went on for about 8 hours. They battled this flame. They all fought this together. In the end, it was just charred rubble. But there's a picture in my dad's office at home, and it's a picture of him standing on the rubble with his men, the guys that were first in. And there's some other pictures of the other guys that came in to help. It was guys on a mission that had a purpose. And I think if you ask my dad to this day, ask any of the people that fought it, do you really think they cared that the Montgomery Fire Department showed up as the thing was almost over? Do you really think they cared that the other guys from the stations showed up an hour later? No. They're just happy that somebody showed up. They were just happy to have some help. They knew they couldn't handle it on their own. Mission has a way of concentrating the mind, has a way of concentrating efforts. Mission has purpose. It gives direction. Things that don't matter, trivial things fall by the wayside. When you have a huge fire, you really don't care about the trivial things. And so, why is this kind of important for us to remember? What is the church all about? Why are we here? It's mission. The fact we're part of the church, that we're baptized, by its very nature gives us mission. It gives us purpose. It gives us direction. It's why we're all here. Trivial things really don't matter when you have a point and a mission and a direction. If you think about it, what being loves trivial, mundane things? And we all know, if you think about it, it's Satan himself that loves the trivial things. The devil loves it. It's where he lives, in the mundane and the trivial. Because he loves to distract us, cause infighting, loves to divide us over the trivial things that don't matter, fighting over who deserves the most glory, who gets the most credit, who deserves the most honor, who deserves the seat of honor, who deserves awards, who deserves the most praise, who showed up the earliest and worked the hardest. How much time do we waste worrying about trivial things? And Christ gives us the answer here in the gospel, and he's basically, I'm just going to sum it up, he's saying, who cares? Stop worrying about it. Stop worrying about who is getting the glory. It's a pride issue. Really, who cares? If we all are on this mission together, it doesn't matter. Let us not forget the privilege God calls us when we labor in his vineyard each and every day. What a privilege it is. And I know people have been sitting out here, you've been laboring 60, 70, sometimes 80 years, doing this, doing the right thing, laboring every single day, and that blows my mind. That's awesome. Keep that up. You're an inspiration to the rest of us. Me? A little late showing up. Second or third shift in. Took me about 10 years. About 10 years ago, I finally showed up. But, when I did, hey, the word go out. Hand me a rake, hand me some pruning shears. Here to do some work. Labor in the vineyard. And then maybe there are people here today that are just showing up, last minute. A lot of people out there haven't shown up yet. Go out there and say, hey, we need some help. Give them a rake. Give them a hose. Because man, the world is burning. Make no mistake about it, it is burning. And we need all hands on deck to come and labor. It's never too late to start the work in the vineyard. And the great thing about it is, when we're working in the vineyard, we spend time around the vineyard master. And that is labor that is truly